Hi, welcome to Hot Topics Live. I'm Kia, and with me today I have the beautiful Matilda, and we have a very, very excellent conversation for you to participate in or watch if you are catching this at a later time. And today I'm so excited because we're going to talk about emotional intelligence and healing and relationships and triggers and all of these deep topics to help you feel better. You know why? Because you deserve to live your happiest life. You deserve to feel happy. You deserve to feel good. You're worth it and you deserve it. I can't say that enough because I feel like a lot of people are walking around feeling unworthy and feeling like they're not enough. So it is my mission this year on Hot Topics to remind you every time I come live that you're an amazing, beautiful soul. You're an amazing, beautiful person. And I'm so glad to connect with your energy and that you're sharing this hour and a half, whatever it turns out to be, with us. And I hope that you get something from this episode that really helps you live your happiest life. I love you. Matilda, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Hi, Kia. How are you?
I'm super excited to bring our guest out.
Me too. I'm super excited. I want to learn a lot from her. So, yes, let's have her on.
Oh, amazing. Look who's watching.
Hi,
One of my
Paula. How
favorite
are you?
people. Hello, beautiful. Hello. You're still in Paris, right? Matilda.
Yes, I'm in Paris.
And I saw you with the gorgeous Kaula from Podcasters
Yes.
Unleashed, the two of you, your Monday show. What time does Podcasters Unleashed come on Mondays?
It's 7 p.m. London time, 2 p.m. Eastern time.
And what's the topic this week?
Oh, you're going to love it. We're going to talk about biotechnology and the advancement of it. Is it ethical or it's not ethical?
Oh, that I am gonna do my best to catch that one. I will like that because then me and Sasha can chit chat in the comments.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, our guest today is from the UK. You know, Hot Topics Live is a global show, so we are so happy to have her on. She is a love and relationships coach. She is an expert in helping you to understand your emotions, to heal, to go through that journey. And what I really love about her is that she helps you do it faster, which means you can live your happiest, best life faster. You can live a happy, harmonious, loving relationship faster. And you know, I teach accelerators at London Real Academy. So I'm all about learning faster. And is what we did in the military too. We learn everything faster. So I'm really excited to bring her out here and find out her story and share her expertise with everybody. So should we bring her out?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Hi, Kia. Hi, Matilda. Hi,
Martha.
everyone.
Hi,
How are
Marta.
you?
I'm very good. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to
Very
have
excited to
you.
have you.
I want to just dive right in, and I want to find out. I was reading on your website, mycoachmarta.com, right? And I was reading all about you, and I learned that you had a lot of difficulties in your life that led you on this path. How was it that you got inspired to become a coach?
It was my own journey of terrible relationships, really. I don't have a good history of relationships. And it really came to a breaking point after my divorce. In a nutshell, I spent 11 years in a relationship and that wasn't good for me. I wanted to leave multiple times. Like,
Marriage? Was it marriage?
we were married for a year after those. So we got married after being 10 years together. We got married after 10 years, and 6 months into the marriage, he started cheating on me. He had an affair. And then we got divorced really quickly, separated, etc.
He waited
Um,
to get married and then start the cheating game. What is
well,
that?
we don't know, right? We don't know. Maybe there was something before and I didn't notice because it really wasn't a relationship that I wanted to be in. I wasn't in love. I wasn't super happy. Now looking back, I know he was manipulating me and controlling, but on a very, very low profile level. So because I was so unaware, it was just below my radar. And because I was used to gaslighting from my own family, that was a normal way of communication. So I wouldn't even, it took me ages to even grasp the concept of gaslighting, because that's how my dad would talk to me. So I just thought that's normal.
Mm.
Um,
So, well, before you go on, I have a question because maybe some people don't know what gaslighting is. So, could you explain more about that before you go on?
yeah, it's making you think that you're crazy. It's
Oh,
making you question your own sanity, making you question, like, did I actually do that or did I not do that? You would do something right, and then the behavior of the other person, what they say, they would make you question if you did that right, if you were a good person, or if you even did that. Like, in a simplest way, they would question, like, oh, that's a nice white shirt. Oh, it's not white, it's cream. Like anything that
Oh,
makes you question your own sanity.
I have an example. So I used to date a guy, right? And he would say, "Okay, we're going to go, out at 2 p.m., but I'm going to go take a nap," right? And so I would wait and I'd get ready and 2 p.m. would come and go. And then he would he would say, "Why didn't you wake me up from why didn't you call to get me up from my
Yeah,
nap? You were
yeah.
supposed to get me up so that I could be ready by 2 to take you out." And I'd be
Hmm.
like, I don't ever recall having that conversation, but he would like, really,
Right.
yes, we did. Yeah, I can't
Yeah,
believe you don't remember that kind of thing. So that's like
yeah,
an example of gaslighting.
yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so many different ones. There's so many ways this can be done, and we all do it sometimes. We're all guilty of it sometimes because it can be so subtle. But some of us are just completely unaware that this is happening. Like, that was not my ex-husband. That was another partner I had after him. He would I wanted to go for a friend's birthday party, and he would say, well, he doesn't want to go, and he's fine, he's going to stay, and that's fine, no problem, go and have fun. So I would go for that birthday party, and then I would come back to a domestic. Why did I go? What did I do? Why did I leave him alone? How could I go out on my own like that? So that was gaslighting on a whole nother level, because actually I do think that that person has narcissistic personality disorder. That
Hmm.
was more damaging that 11-year-old long relationship, to be honest.
um,
Wow.
sorry, what was like this last example? Because I want to see like how my people in my life they're acting. Is this like you had yourself the guilt feeling, or he was
Yeah.
making you feeling this guilt feeling?
Well, I looking back now, I know that I didn't have anything to feel guilty about. I did what I was supposed to do. I said, I want to go. It's my good friend. I want to be there for her birthday. Do you want to go? Do you want to come? You're more than welcome. Let's go together. No, you go by yourself. Everything was cool. And then I come back home to a completely different situation. So I shouldn't be guilty. But because of the level of emotional manipulation, I did feel guilty. And then because it was gaslighting, I really questioned, did I do the right thing? Should I have stayed? Should I just, maybe I missed something? Maybe he did say something and I just, maybe I ignored him. But actually looking back at that relationship, that was a very, very manipulative relationship.
Yeah,
And you only
was
understand those
toxic.
things when you're in a healthy one and look back.
Mm.
So coming out of those relationships, so first the marriage and he was cheating, which I mean, my ex-husband didn't cheat, but I was like you, I was in a relationship for a really long time. And then when we were together 11 years, we got married, right? And then
Wow.
we broke up 2 years later. So we were really only
Wow.
married like a year and a half, really, before we
Oh
broke
my
up. But we were
God.
together 11
They say
years.
boyfriend and girlfriend works better.
Yeah, I don't know
Why?
if I'm getting married again. I'm good. So, but I mean, I like healthy relationships, but I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to be really
Yeah,
impressed. So,
yeah.
tell me, Marta, so what happened after that on your journey to like discovering, obviously you had the marriage and it went badly, and then divorce is never easy to go through. There's a lot
Mm.
of pain and a lot of healing, and a lot to go along with being cheated on because that sucks.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
horrible.
yeah.
Um, anyone who's been, I certainly have once been cheated on. It's never a good feeling when you find out there's so much emotional dynamics with that in and of itself. And then you got into other unhealthy relationships.
Yeah, so straight after that one, well, it took some time to heal. It, in a way, the divorce didn't affect me as much because it was a relationship I settled for because I didn't believe I was worthy of more. And a million times I
Mm,
wanted to leave, but everyone said, "Oh, he's such a nice guy. You don't find nice guys like this."
mm,
I stayed because, he was a nice guy. And I had zero awareness of my own patterns or what I was actually worth or the courage to go after the love I believe was possible.
mhm,
So after that, I was quite vulnerable. And then I went back into the relationship world because I am a bit of a romantic. I did believe there's someone there for me. And I dated for a while. Then I met this other guy who now I think was a narcissist. Even though I don't use this term very lightly, it
mhm.
is just in retrospect. And that lasted 6 months to a year because with narcissistic abuse, they hoover you back in, then they discard, they hoover you back in, and they discard, and it just keeps going on and on and on. And that caused more damage to my mental health than the divorce and the 11 years altogether.
Um, but I'm trying to understand your story better. I want to see, you're in London now, but all this was happening in London, or
In Brighton, actually.
mm.
So just south
But
of London.
but you are not from there.
No, I
I'm
moved
hearing
here.
accent now. I'm starting
Oh,
maybe
you'll hear
different
many.
cultures.
You'll hear many accents because I was born in Poland. I grew up in Nicaragua, and the guy that I spent 11 years with was French. So I'm just a
That
foreigner no
makes
matter where I
sense.
go. There's a whole melange in there.
Interesting. So you've been, I mean, different culture might have affected the whole, even to figure out how we can handle these people, because cultural differences and location difference, different countries, it takes
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, some
Wow.
cultural things might have affected it. Yeah, I do feel it was mostly my own lack of awareness and my own inexperience in relationship and low self-worth and lack of healing because I really, I fell into those traps because of my trauma responses. It was just so easy. I aim to please. I don't want to upset anyone. So of course
Mhm.
I'll just go with it.
So your trauma responses, are they something that you develop in childhood?
Yeah. Yeah. You develop most of them we develop in childhood and then as we go for life and have other experiences like traumatic relationships, we can develop more. So it's something that just develops. We know now that the brain develops all our life. We know it's neuroplastic. We can form new neural pathways over the old faulty ones and improve our life, and everything can change. So yeah, a lot of our responses are related to childhood, especially childhood wounding,
Hmm.
emotional
Because
neglect. Mhm.
for me, a lot of it has been childhood wounding.
Yeah.
So, and understanding that and looking at what my triggers are. So, can you explain a bit about what a trigger is?
So triggers are those sore points that we have in our psyche, something that happened to us in childhood that left a big owie on our soul. And for some of us, that can be very traumatic. It can be physical abuse. But what we tend to minimize as a society is the trauma of emotional neglect, of not being seen, of not being allowed to express our emotions, for being told our emotions are wrong, fighting for mom's or dad's love, not being a good enough child, always having to earn our parents' approval or our parents' love. And as children, we don't have the vocabulary or the emotional capacity to explain that we want to feel safe, we want to feel loved, that we are scared because we're walking on eggshells around our parents. And when people don't have the classic big T trauma, the physical abuse or the sexual abuse, they tend to disregard that maybe they were not seen as a child. Maybe they had to always work very, very hard to even be noticed, to receive any care. Or maybe the care was inconsistent. And that
Do
also,
you see brother and sister, like the dynamic is affecting that too?
what do you mean?
Like some, for example, some people they have more successful brother and sisters, and they're constantly being,
Mm-hmm.
there's maybe I think I'm assuming there might be a jealousy, or there might be
Yeah.
people are constantly saying, "Oh, your brother can do this, or your sister can do this," or
Absolutely. That's one of the big owies, the comparisons to brother or sister or to anyone really. It
mm,
can come from anywhere. It mostly comes from the family of origin, from our home, but it can happen at school as well.
yeah,
Children get so much from teachers, from their peers, and even between siblings. But that's one of the common ones, the sibling rivalry and the
mm,
way parents treat the siblings. They will put one on the pedestal and then make the other one less worthy. And
yeah,
people have different adaptations. Some people will go into their shell and just go, well, if I'm being too good, then I'm making. I had that, for example, with my sister. If I was doing too good at school, I was speaking a few languages and my sister had trouble learning one. I was told that I'm making my sister look bad, so I learned to make myself be smaller so that I'm not upsetting other people. So I would not show myself, and I developed a bit of a fear of being seen because my safety strategy to keep peace at home was to keep myself small so I don't rock the boat.
wow, interesting.
I
But
definitely can identify with a lot of that. If you have any sort of dysfunction at home, you probably have childhood wounds, but they can come from anywhere. It could be a friend that moved away that you were really close
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
lots of things. And those emotions get stored in the body, and they become active when you get triggered
Yeah.
in certain situations later. And those triggers can last from hours to days. And if you don't recognize that you're triggered, you try to make decisions during that time, you can make some
Mm.
really horrible
Yeah.
decisions, right? So you have to learn to recognize that you're in a triggered state, and then to give yourself the time and space to come out of it before you act. Like if you're fighting with your boyfriend or something and he's triggered you, you might
Yeah.
respond, or your girlfriend, right? You might respond in a way that you normally wouldn't respond if you were not triggered.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And there's that whole emotional floating that happens when we're triggered, where everything comes up to the surface and we're really not thinking straight because the brain goes into the fight or flight mode. And quite literally, all our resources are from the brain are pushed to other areas, to the survival system, not to the prefrontal cortex where our communication skills live and our secure attachment where we can empathize and understand the other person. We are in that lizard brain where we're just fighting for survival with all our emotions. So yeah, never make decisions or a big step from a trigger state.
Amazing. So how can we recognize when we're triggered?
mm,
It comes in the body. So a lot of the work that I do comes to connecting my clients back with themselves, coming back to the body. Because when we're triggered, we will often run away with our thoughts. And our thoughts respond to our nervous system response. A trigger sometimes will be unnoticed. We won't even know what happened because it's so subliminal, it's so deep in our subconscious. But our body reacts because that's where it's stored. So our central nervous system activates our response or fight, flight, or fawn. The heart rate increases, the blood pressure increases, hormones are pumped into the blood. And once we're in that state, our mind actually perceives the world differently. And because we're triggered, because we're activated in our nervous system, our mind starts translating reality to match the state of the body. And that's when we will feel that, oh, the boy, then get a response to my text message. He's definitely cheating. Or, he didn't do the dishes. Well, he's so lazy. I have to always do everything. Like we will find a story to it. So it's coming back to the body, recognizing what's happening and doing what we learn to do for ourselves to regulate that response before we respond to the event.
Wow.
So basically, sorry. So basically, the event might not be something big deal. It's nothing very big deal, but we perceive it and we react in a very emotional way, and so it's not balanced in a way.
No,
It's not
it's not.
relevant how we act and what's happening. It's not relevant, but in our head we think, oh my god, it's interesting. I mean, I have to think. I guess I have a lot of them. I'm always reacting. I have to ask that from Sasha.
It's because I think we have a goal. We want to respond, but we don't want to
Yes.
react. There's a difference. So I think for me, because I get triggered all the time, but for me, I have to wait and I have to learn the things that sort of help me ease through my triggers. Like talking to a girlfriend might help me to ease through my trigger, or just to meditate, or to even sometimes take a nap, and just to put distance in between whatever that emotional sensation is. And for up until 3 years ago, I didn't recognize when I was triggered. So it took even learning the sensations that I felt in my body, and I'm going, okay, my heart rate is increasing. I feel like loopy. I don't feel present in my thinking. My thoughts are racing, like I'm overthinking, right? And
Yeah.
what's going on with me? What has happened that I'm feeling this way? Oh, I'm triggered. Something has triggered me. Okay, so now what can I do to, do not make decisions. We learned the hard way not to make decisions when we're triggered because you make mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Have
And you're
you
very
ever
right.
cut off like a boyfriend or a guy that you were dating because you were triggered, but it really wasn't a big deal? But you were in a triggered state and you just sort of cut off the friend or cut off the boyfriend or whatever, or hung up on someone on the phone. And it was like not a big deal, but something about whatever happened set you into this fight or flight sort of
Right.
mode. So yeah, it
Yeah. Well,
happens.
my default is anxious attachment. So my signature move is threatening to leave, but not really wanting to leave. Like, I
Mm,
haven't really cut people off. I had the other problem of overstaying. But I
Yeah,
would
I
I
have
would
a friend who
threaten.
does that all the time. And I always say, "Are you really gonna leave?" But it's like, always threatening to leave. And I say, some point you're gonna either have to leave or stop threatening to leave, because it has no, like, maybe the first time or two it makes a difference, but after that, it makes no difference at all. It's not
None,
helping.
none.
Yeah.
But we're so unaware of it, and it's so deep on a subconscious level because that's something we
Mhm.
learned as kids. That's like the hallmark of anxious attachment. If I don't make enough noise, if I don't cry too loud, I don't get love, I don't get attention, and I'm not seen. So that's why we threatened to leave, because we learned as kids that, if we were not naughty enough, loud enough, maybe even sick enough, some of us only got the attention and the nurture and the love when we were very, very poorly. So then we learned that to get the attention, we need to throw jealous rages or threaten to leave. And we, our prefrontal cortex, the thinking area of the brain, actually knows that this is not a smart move and it's ineffective. But because it's stored somewhere else in the brain, we like emergency, emergency. If I do something really big, they will love me. They will beg me to stay. We actually want this. We think it will work, but it doesn't. It's
A lot of
do
times
it at
it
home.
pushes people further away,
Yeah.
especially if you have.
Yeah.
I've been moving through attachment styles. Let's talk about attachment styles for a minute, because I think that's really
I love
important.
it.
Because if you don't know how you attach in relationships, you're going to have difficulty in your
Mm-hmm.
relationship. This can save you a lot of heartache and a lot of drama in your
Mm.
friendships, in your coworker relationships, and in your romantic relationships, by understanding how you attach to people, how you form attachments.
That's
So
interesting.
yeah, so will you explain a little bit about that, Marta?
Well, I love you. I love that you actually mentioned that it affects all relationships, because it does. It affects how we relate to other people. It does show mostly in the romantic relationships, because our adult partners are the new representation or of the primary caregiver. So we attach
Mhm.
as intensely as we did to mom and dad. But actually, our attachment styles, yeah, they show up in all our human relationships. So
Mhm.
our attachment styles form in very early childhood, but they develop as we go. They are a form of adaptation to the level of nurture and care we received. The ideal one we'd all like to have is secure. So a secure child had enough nurture and had enough time to go and explore the world, knowing that the parent is a safe base to come back to. The parent was a guide, this wise, loving guide through life. People with anxious attachment, which is my default, had a very inconsistent level of care. So sometimes we were smothered and sometimes we were left to our own devices. We never knew where we stand. We never knew if we're going to get the love and nurture or not. So we learned to be very hyper vigilant and overstate our needs sometimes. And then we have the avoidants who were left to their own devices, left to regulate their own emotions. As a result, they learned to be very internally focused, very left brain focused. They don't quite know how to relate to emotions. They keep those emotions inside. They have that internal belief that they will never be good enough for a relationship. They actually want the closeness, but they are afraid of it at the same time. And also there's disorganized, which is a bit more complicated, but it's relatively rare in people, luckily. But it has its own challenges. It's a bit of a mix of both, but not quite. It's a bit unpredictable. So I don't like to just call it a mixture.
Mhm. So if you are an anxious, and obviously there's a secure attachment style, right? So if you are an anxious attachment style, and you can be a combination, right? Because I think I'm moving towards more of a healthy style, but I still have tendencies, like I still sort of backslide, and I'll have like a anxious attachment
Mm,
style moment, and I'll be like, what? But from there I moved into an avoidant style. So then I would be like a runner,
mm-hmm,
like, oh, I got to get, nope, I'm cutting this off, right? So I would just drop relationships really easily, right? And or avoid getting into them very seriously for a really long time. And then I would find that if I did, I might have anxious moments or avoidant moments, right? And so I'm actually on the
mm-hmm.
coming on the other side of that. And right now, this is why I've been single so long, doing the work. And so what happens though when an anxious style person gets into a relationship with an avoidant style person? Can't they just continually trigger each other?
Yeah, and they do, and it's it's so funny that you mention it because it's it's the most common mix I come across, and it's we tend to, as anxious, we tend to be attracted to the avoidant because it kind of reflects our childhood pattern. We have to fight for love, and then we have this avoidant that we have to constantly fight for because they are avoidant. They're a little bit distant. They're not. So it wakes up the excitement in us of fighting for love. It reminds us how love was when we were children. So we think, oh, well, this is love. The body feels it as it was before. We're in love now. So yeah, we do trigger each other, and because they're very, very opposite styles. We have very different attachment needs. The anxious person wants a lot of closeness. The avoidant wants a lot of distance, and we're both secure in this. Like, we're happy. The anxious person will be super happy with loads of closeness, and the avoidant is super happy with loads of distance. But we the opposite need is triggering for each other. The fact that my partner is avoidant, I mean, default avoidant, because we're definitely more secure these days. But in the past, it would have triggered me that he needs so much alone time, that he's so comfortable with it. But I would be like, oh my God, something is wrong. Something is wrong. Are we losing our connection? Something is wrong with the relationship. And then my need for closeness, for example, would be a bit smothering for him. So yeah, those needs can definitely trigger each other. And there are some even so little nuances. Something that is very, very common is that the avoidant person needs a little bit more transition from anything that he's doing, whether it's internal or he's actually focusing on work. He needs the transition to be relational with another person. Someone with an anxious attachment style is so people focused. We so want the other person that we're always ready to connect. An avoidant isn't. So they need a little bit of a transition time where we could say, will you be available in, say, half an hour, a couple of hours, for us to talk about the argument we had last night? Especially if we want an emotional connection that's more meaningful, it's giving the avoidant a little bit of space to come back to the right side of the brain with the emotions, because they're just not readily there. Whereas a person on the anxious scale is always emotionally ready, always ready to engage and connect.
So interesting. I Yeah, I think you're muted, honey.
What if some people they are in a relationship but they don't like to talk about their emotions?
You
What are those? What is
mean,
their avoidance or
yeah, that definitely sounds like someone on the avoidant side.
and you
And
have
they
to
are,
constantly guess their emotions?
yeah, they don't find it because they're so left brain focused in their, analytical brain and their logic. They don't actually have enough access to express or feel their own emotions. So talking about emotions is quite frightening. It's actually very heavy and very tiring for them. So if we push the conversations, oh, I really want to talk about how you feel and tell you how I feel, it's scary, frightening, and tiring for an avoidant. And then he will want to pull away to rest, to recover from this conversation that was a massive effort. And we want to push further because then we're scared that he's pulling away. And we create all those really cool loops that are quite dangerous for a relationship.
And the people who are always ready to talk about their emotions, they are the anxious ones.
Yeah, more on the
They are the
anxious
anxious
scale.
ones.
Yeah. Yay, team anxious here as well.
Because I'm like, any second, I want to resolve the issue. Let's sit down. Let's talk about it. You need to
Yeah.
cry. Let's cry. It's okay. We're human beings. Let's connect. And obviously,
Yeah.
now that I'm thinking about it, I'm throughout my relationships or even friendships, anything, I'm always the one that's ready to talk, ready to um, share my emotions and resolve the
Mhm.
issue as soon as possible. It's interesting.
Yeah.
And I
Hmm.
find people cold. So now I'm realizing the issue is me.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, we attract the
But
opposite.
maybe people are cold too, you know, some people are just cold,
Some
they don't
people
like,
are,
yeah, some people are. It's not
you
just
know.
me.
But I do want to touch on something that Kia said, that you think your attachment style is changing.
Mm,
And it is, it is situational. We come to this world with a base secure attachment. That's how we're designed, that's how the brain is designed, that's what we're supposed to have. Parental mistakes happen and we adapt insecurely. But because the attachment style can change, it can change depending on the situation. So somebody might have, a very blissful childhood and have a secure attachment, and then goes out into the world and gets into an abusive relationship and ends up on the other side with an insecure attachment because of the level of trauma. At the same time, someone with an insecure attachment, like us here, Team Anxious, can do all the work and healing and transcend an attachment style to become secure. And your attachment can be different depending on the situation and the person and what they trigger. For example, with my ex-husband, you could have said that I am an avoidant. Like I didn't want to see the guy. I used to dream that he will get a job or he will be working away for most of the time, so I wouldn't have to see him. I was
wow.
classic avoidant. Like I didn't want to see him. But then I would look back over all my other relationships and my relationship with my now healthy relationship with my partner, definitely my default is anxious. I want all the attention. I want it now. I want all the emotions, all the contact, all the time, and immediate.
It sounds lovely, but then now that, so when I was married, I really felt like that, and I think I had my ex-husband sort of adapt to that for me, or maybe we were too anxious people who got into a relationship, right? So it worked out really well for a long time. Right? And both of us like attention, so we just
Oh
gave it to each
wow!
other, right? So I think too anxious can work out, but there are still some hiccups. It's the thing is that you're most likely attracted to the avoidant,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
we are.
So
Yeah,
it's strange in that way that but now that after I've been single for so long, I like being alone, and I like being sort of having my space, right?
mm-hmm.
So I sort of even when I start to sort of talk to guys, I take a lot of space. Like I'm like the worst. And I will think it to myself, you know. I'm like the worst is sweet person is texting me or whatever, and I'm just like I'll get to that in like a day or two. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, and I'm like that's really avoidant. You know, you're just avoiding it. You're avoiding it. So
Maybe you follow
um
your intuition.
yeah, I do. I do think intuition does play a big part in it too when
Mm-hmm.
you're going back into the dating world.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting how these attachment styles can manifest in your relationship. So you mentioned a couple of times that your current partnership is more secure and that you're
Yeah.
team anxious. So my question is, how can we transcend our attachment style to become more secure?
So firstly, definitely that awareness of it. And I've done, my journey was similar to yours. Like I took a dating hiatus, I was working on myself after realizing that actually the common denominator in all my relationship wasn't me. So we have to
Mm-hmm.
look in here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I started to do. And it took me years, not months to get there. There was a lot of inner work. There was a lot of struggle. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to look at myself and decide that actually I was the problem because I attracted those relationships. It was easier to blame them. So there came a bit of that. And there comes that realization of the anxious attachment style or avoidant attachment style, if that's your preference, and then working through it. So for example, for someone with an anxious attachment, there's a lot of self-regulation that we need to learn because we're so dependent on the other person that we need to learn to regulate our own emotions. And that is a monstrous task. And I totally get what you're saying, we're being single and actually not even wanting to have a relationship because I was there as well. I was so comfortable with not being triggered anymore. Suddenly, I was self regulating, I was calm. There were no ups and downs. I was not dependent on anyone. I wasn't thinking how I am affecting another person. I didn't really like, I would be on online dating and then just not open it for 3 years, for 3 months at a time. Actually, with my current partner, we matched a year before we met. Apparently, I ignored his messages. He unmatched me. I'm glad he tried again a year later.
Wow. So you did meet online, because I hear so many horrible
Yeah,
things about online dating.
yeah. We met online,
Some good
and to
things
be honest,
happen.
yeah, I most of the people I know now, obviously I work online as well, and most of the couples I know now have met online.
Hmm.
It's not easy, right? It's not pretty. I'm not saying it's a pretty world, but it's a tool, and it depends how you use it. So it is possible.
Wow.
Now, Marta, for me, it was triggering this point that you shared. You came from a relationship that the partner was cheating. And I have this problem. I haven't been cheated on, but I've seen enough movies and I've seen enough people around me that they've been cheated. And it's like one of my phobias. I don't know if it's a phobia or not, but I feel like, oh my God, if that happens to me, I think my heart will stop. I don't know, I'll be very sad, I'll be very upset. How can someone not have this kind of a fear? How can you, how do you help people to kind of overcome that? Especially if, I mean, not in my scenario, but if someone seen they've been cheated on, then they have that phobia more. I mean, if I had that scenario, I think I wouldn't even be married because I would be like, oh, somebody will cheat on me. So I'm thinking, why is that? And I'm like, um, giving Sasha, my husband, that he's giving comments here and being stoic. I don't know to see what I'm dealing at home. He doesn't like to share about his personal emotions. But God
Hmm.
forbid if we ask about the world. He has a couple of hours of sharing knowledge and but personal emotion, no, everything's okay. So
Sounds like my
yeah,
partner.
so I'm giving Sasha a lot of hard time, not necessarily controlling or anything, but for me, loyalty becomes very important. Is one of my like the most important part, and maybe I'm giving him hard time. I don't know. He needs to answer that, but yeah, it becomes a very sensitive part.
Mm.
How can how you manage to overcome that scenario?
So
How I
something
can maybe move over it as well, because I don't know why I'm keep thinking about it.
it's part of your, if you are identifying yourself with anxious attachment, it would be part of your pattern that is 100% normal to the attachment,
Mm.
because we're wired to 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 guard love. So we're wired for mate guarding. So we see threats that we're going to lose love, our partner, everywhere.
That's
We can,
interesting.
we're wired, that's how I call it. We're wired for mate guarding. So we will be much easier jealous. We will perceive, maybe he has a friend at work, probably cheating, definitely a friend, probably should look into that. We are more prone to maybe check his phone or check his emails or just be suspicious. Even though there's nothing there, we have that underlying anxiety that we're going to lose love. We have that fear of abandonment, of rejection, because we didn't receive the constant care and nurture when we were children. And
But well, one thing I want to make sure that I understand that as well, because before Sasha, I never had this problem, and I had relationships,
mm-hmm,
love, fell in love, came out of love, came another love again.
mm-hmm,
So I was very always after love most of the time of my adult life but I never had it this kind of emotion.
mm-hmm.
Now I feel like, oh, it's marriage, it's going to be my nest, I shouldn't allow something. I don't know what it is, but this emotion is coming in. And I'm thinking maybe because Sasha is not interested to talk about his emotion that much. He doesn't give
Mm,
me that assertiveness. I mean, I know that he loves me. There's no question about that, but he doesn't like to express that, um, or talk about his
mm.
emotion very straightforward. Makes me feel this way, or maybe I have something that I need to work on. I don't know. I'm confused myself. Maybe he's giving one of those lights that I need to work on.
Yeah, that's what we were just saying. Sometimes that attachment is situational. So sometimes
Mm,
there's something, some pattern or behavior that triggers one attachment more than the other. The attachment is a spectrum, so you can go from one side to the other depending on what situation you're in. So if you have a partner who sounds like he's pretty avoidant, you don't get
mm,
um, enough reassurance to feel secure. So somebody with an anxious attachment needs that extra reassurance to even develop into a secure attachment. Then it might be triggering, some really old patterns in you that are
mm.
coming to the surface. And what's your love language? Do you know what's your love language? Maybe we have the answer there.
Uh, I think my love language is I really don't know exactly what is it. It's not gifts, but I like to receive gifts. That's all.
Maybe it is gifts.
I think
Hey,
it's
Sasha.
gifts, people doing things for me. I mean, if my partner does
Mm,
something for me, I think it's all of them. Which one is more? I don't
Yeah.
know. Attention. Oh yeah,
mm-hmm.
attention, doing things for me, buying gifts.
How
Ah.
about words of affirmation?
Mm, I mean, Sasha does that a lot, but I don't know. It doesn't make. I mean, it makes me feel good, but does it give me that security? No.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So that's my number one. I like
Yeah.
words of affirmation. I like words, and then
Yeah, high
quality
five.
time,
Tell me
and
how
then
much you love
and then
me.
physical touch, right? Like all of the
Yeah.
quality time words. So it's like kind of spending time together. Words of
Mm-hmm.
affirmation, physical touch,
Mm-hmm.
quality time. Then I like doing things for me, and then gifts. I mean, I love gifts, but if I
Mm-hmm.
had to rank them, it would probably be last. I'd rather spend time with you and hear you tell me
Yeah.
pretty things.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same. I'm the same. And for a long time, I thought mine was touch because I am very tactile. I love a lot of closeness and cuddles.
Hmm. Me
But
too.
actually, I realized that it is words of affirmation. I need to be told. And even sometimes, my partner will tell me, "Oh, I love you so much." And I'm like, "Why? Expand on it. I want more words."
This is why I tell people I'm so old fashioned because I love a love letter. Write me something. Write me something so I can
Yeah.
reread it. Right. So I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that too. Yeah. I save messages that I really like. So I'm going to go back to it in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm a sucker for a sweetheart. You tell
Hmm.
me some pretty things. I mean, you could win me over. Like, really, take me somewhere nice and spend some time with me and bring a gift. Holy
Mm.
shit, we're done.
Yeah.
Listen, there are some cultures, there are more, some men in those cultures, they are more into these kind of things. I think maybe Latin culture now or Italian culture, like Latin, they are very expressive, no?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Not the French.
I think
I
no.
think
Is
my
your
husband
husband
is
French?
French, so
I'm not going to be mentioning that.
that's
But
why the stoic part comes in.
yeah, yeah, he wasn't expressive. Mind you, my current partner is Australian, so he's not naturally expressive, and he's default avoidance. So sometimes I have to pull it out of him, but he's getting so much better now.
So
But
how did you guys start to evolve your, like, how did you work it so that you could know that you could bring this out of him, and that you could sort of chill in your anxiety? How did you guys become more secure together? What can we
So
try?
before we met, I've already went through a bunch of coaching. I've had therapy, but it never worked for me, never quite gelled with conventional talking therapy. So then I discovered coaching, which was just a light bulb moment, changing my life. So I had personal coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, and I, I had the hang of things. So when I stepped into this relationship, when we started dating, it was, we were attracted to each other. There was a great connection, but it wasn't sick. It wasn't toxic. It wasn't the chase. Um, and as very quickly into our dating, he felt the same, and he actually started seeing a relationship coach. He only told me a few months later. So he's been single for a while. He's into personal development. He's also a coach. So he's done his part. He started seeing a relationship coach. So we were already working for stuff. And one of the big things for me was when we had our first conflict. I've never had a conflict like that. When I wanted to go back into my anxious patterns and I started throwing all my emotions out very loud. And he was just very calm and said, like, do you want to just sit down, sit with your emotions for a while and see how you feel in some time, and then we can talk about it. And I was just like, whoa, what did just happen? You're not gonna scream at me, you're not gonna walk out, you're not gonna slam the door and leave, or like what is happening? On the surface I was still buzzing, but inside I had a whole internal thing going on, like this is different. This feels so different. I don't know what to do with it. And because my nervous system didn't recognize it as, something that we know, it felt odd. But because I've done my work cognitively, I was like, this is the way forward. This is what we do. And from then on, we were so committed to our personal work, to our relationship, and we knew about this stuff. So we just kept working on it. He gave me the reassurance I needed to feel more secure. I gave him all the space he needed so that he would feel safe and he could come to me and we could connect lovingly and deeply when we were both feeling safe for it. Because that's what we want really in relationships. We want to feel safe. And there are, when I work with clients, there are different exercises we can do for different attachment styles. I mostly work with anxious because avoidance, they don't know that they're avoidant, so they don't reach out for help. So most of my clients come to me with their anxious attachment. So there we do some memory reconsolidation, we do some nervous system regulation. We work with the polyvagal ladder to learn to down-regulate and up-regulate. We learn to communicate those emotions, to give the space, and to become secure within. So sometimes a really good exercise that I like to do is a meditation that brings together all your secure people so that you can start remembering how you feel when you're securely attached. And those it might be someone in the family, it might be a neighbor, it might be a friend. They might be alive or not alive. There might be people who you've never met. Just to start teaching the body and the nervous system the experience of secure attachment. One of the things I did, and it might sound really silly, but because one of my big wounds was a mother wound, I watched the Gilmore Girls like 3 times. Like I had this playing in the background in my house when I was single all the time, so that I could have the experience of remothering, of being in the presence of a securely attached relationship.
Wow. We have a lot of work to do, I guess, Kia. I have some wonderful.
Start watching Gilmore Girls today.
Oh, I know there are some other movies. Apparently, somebody recommended me some other movies. I need to actually have a look at them. There are some other movies that promote secure attachment. And you know what? I didn't even know. But this is something that my coach recommended later. She was like, "Oh, maybe you should watch this." And I was like, "Oh, really?" Like I subconsciously started watching it before I even knew about this. Like it felt good on my nervous system. It felt like I was in the presence of something that I wanted to experience.
That's beautiful.
I want to ask, since you're here, and I really like how you even talk and how you even think and your coaching style. So, how can I make a secure environment for Sasha so he can express his emotion, not about
Mm,
love, but even, for example, he can say, okay, I don't like this, don't do this, or I like this, do this more. He doesn't communicate with me when he doesn't like something that much, so I have to guess from his behavior that maybe he didn't like it. And for me, it's like
Mm.
it's too much work for me because I'm very straightforward. I don't like this, I like this. If you want to make me happy, do this, 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 I'll be very happy. If you don't want me happy, do this, and I'll be very angry. Very, I give my the book to the other person so that knows
Yeah.
how to handle me. For me, it's amazing how I cannot understand him in these areas. And
Mhm.
he doesn't like to talk about his personal emotions. And you see how he's answering. No one can hurt you, expect yourself and your own emotions. So this is him answering. How can I open the space so he can feel
Mm.
secure, so he can share his emotion with. This is family therapy right now, Martha. Thank you very much. You can help me a lot.
This sounds like such a classic, Matilda. It's such a classic. It's ironically he needs the space because the more you ask, the less inclined he will be to share. Because for
Mm.
him, it's this asking, this nagging. That's threatening. That's I see him making comments, and this is actually I like that he's made this comment because one of the avoidants tend to be very internally focused, so they're very aware of their own inner world, but a lot of the time they can't explain it because they don't have enough access to the emotional part of the brain where they can translate and say, I am sad, but it's because I am missing someone, so I have a tinge of loneliness that reminds me about a loss from my childhood and a bit of grief. Like, someone with an anxious attachment would just go like, I have all these emotions, this is the list. So he actually can't explain them. So for you guys, it would be a matter of you actually telling him there is something I would like to talk with you about, maybe something like this. Do you think you can let me know when you would be available? So that's that transition time that he has to prepare from that very left brain detached, internally focused way of being to emotionally connecting with you and sharing emotions. Because when I do it, I actually made this was on my stories the other day because I completely like forgot that my partner has avoidant inclination, and I just ambushed him like he was halfway up the stairs. He was literally mid step, and I'm like, I have these emotions. This happened, and he just goes, oh, and I actually corrected myself because I saw in him that this is immediately anxiety inducing. Not because he doesn't want to connect with me or because he doesn't love me, it's because he doesn't have the capacity to engage emotionally at that level. So it's a matter of giving him the space and some time to prepare so that he can shift from internal to external engagement and to go up on his nervous system so he's actually prepared for connection, for communication, for verbalizing his emotions.
Ooh. He needs to say I'm sad because of this, or I don't like this. I'm like,
Oh,
oh, give you space, calm, pamper, mamper. This is too much work.
I am like you, like I tell you, I ambushed him. He was mid-step walking up the stairs. And I suddenly had this emotional thing coming up, and I reverted back to my old pattern, and it just went, Havana!
But I think that's beautiful to share because even though we do the work, and some people are probably
Mm,
just starting out and hearing this, and some people may be along the journey of healing this and maybe didn't
yeah.
even know it was like attachment styles. But to know that you can be working and become secure and doing the work, but also sort of relapse and regress
Mm-hmm.
back and have a moment. But once you're learning, you can catch yourself and autocorrect, right?
Yeah.
And if you're patient with your partner and they're patient with you and they understand that you're working through these things, then you can get through it.
Yeah, that is that awareness and that distance. And that's exactly what happened. I knew the moment I felt his nervous system reaction, because that's what we feel. We don't communicate only with words, we communicate with the nervous system. We feel the other person's activation. We see all the micro
Energy.
movements on their face, the energy, right? Yeah, and I felt it. And in the split second, I went, ah, I didn't give him the transition space. And I immediately corrected. And, we had a bit of a giggle and I talked about it and said, oh, we're going to get back to it later. You go. And then I came on Instagram and did a story about it because I found it very funny. But yeah, totally.
For me, it's not funny. I mean, like for me, it's like I can't be cool about it. For me, it's like how are you emotionally numb that you're not feeling it? That this is like maybe we need to talk about, or you don't like it, or you're. And then it's like, but I didn't say anything. I'm like, but your energy, I felt your energy. And it's like, so. But I would love to be like
Yeah.
you to understand myself and come and do an Instagram thing, but I can't. At that moment, I get angry.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
have
Because
to work on
you will have an emotional response to his activation. And that's where those opposing attachments trigger each other. Because he feels activated because he wants safety and those emotions are too much for him. But because you feel him activated and pulling away, then your attachment gets activated and your emotions get higher. And you become louder and more emotional, and he wants to withdraw more and further. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
totally.
interesting. Like today, we went to a restaurant and he wasn't feeling okay about it because it was a lot of people. He wasn't saying anything, but I could feel his energy. And I was
Mm.
like, if you're not okay, we can go to the restaurant, out of the restaurant, another place. He was like, no, we go what you want. And I was like, but this is not, I want to eat a meal with someone that is happy to be in this space. So it's interesting. Maybe I have to work on it. It's a lot of work because, yeah.
Well, there's a bit of distance and self-awareness. Like when we practice self-awareness, when we practice coming back into the body, into the breath, what is happening with my shoulders? Something
Mm.
really good for people with emotional regulation problems is rolling through the joints, for example. So rolling through all your joints, your elbows, your fingers, your neck, that activates the hippocampus in your brain that brings you back to the present moment so you don't run away with your emotions and your thoughts. And you're able to come back and create a little bit of distance between you and your reaction. And then come back and go, okay, this was a trigger, this is my reaction, this is how I choose to respond. And the more we practice the response of choice, the more we create the new pathways that are secure attachment. We all have the secure attachment. It's just that it lives in this area of the brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, which goes offline when we're activated, when we're triggered. So coming back to the body and the present moment brings us back the resources to the prefrontal cortex and we can connect with the secure attachment that we have. It's just that it's on the second plan because we are so triggered when the other one comes up.
It's
Interesting.
it's beautiful. I love that you shared a strategy. And so I want to ask you because emotional regulation can be difficult, you know. And
Yeah.
is there anything else that we can do to learn how to regulate our emotion when we get into an activated state when we're dealing with our partners?
Yeah. It's all about recognizing that upheaval, which is really hard to do in the moment. I'm not going to say that easily because in the heat of the moment, we're in the primal brain and even for me, all the skills and tools are out the window. So for me personally, what I have to do when I get too activated, I have to step away and I have to ask my partner for time out where I can go to regulate. And now it depends on which way I am regulated or down regulated. I might meditate, I might stretch, I might do breathing exercises. with my clients, I use a lot of polyvagal theory work. So we learn where we are on the nervous system regulation. If we're in the parasympathetic, we might actually benefit from maybe tidying around, organizing, maybe even going for a run. We might, if we're a little bit higher on that ladder, we might do just a breathing exercise, maybe some box breathing to calm that nervous response down. Maybe if we're very low on the nervous on the polyvagal ladder, we might actually just have a nap because if we've pushed too far, it's going to take some time to come back to the emotional regulation because emotional regulation is tiring. It actually uses a lot of calories. So, it's good in this respect, but it is exhausting. So if we've pushed ourselves too far, sometimes it is going to require a break so that we don't say something we don't really mean, and so we don't take something our partner said the wrong way.
Well, difficult, difficult. But yeah, I hope by practicing you will get hang of it and you will recognize yourself in the heat of the moment and you can, you know,
That's
not say what you don't want to be said.
the most difficult part, I think. I think this is why emotional regulation is something I really recommend practicing on the daily basis, noticing
And
when we're triggered.
how can you like numb your emotions? Because my emotion is like hyper. My body is not hyper. It's not like I'm running and doing exercises. Maybe for that I'm a little bit lazy. But when it comes to my emotion, it's mashallah, they're on the go. They're on action all the time. So how can I numb my emotion? Like I love to express my love when I'm upset. You will know. Yeah, everything I show my emotion very. And for me, emotion is the life. How can you live life without emotion? Everything, even when I'm having coffee with my um, pastry in the morning, is a lot of emotion there. Like I'm
Mm.
feeling it. This coffee is hitting the spot. It's like, wow, life is beautiful. And then I have stoic husband. How is that? I don't know. So how
You
can
don't
I
want
numb a little bit of my
you don't want
emotion?
to you don't want to numb them completely. I love emotions, I love feelings. I love love. I love
Mm.
Yeah,
passion.
I would love that
It's
coffee
great.
and pastry right at this
Oh
moment.
yeah,
I would
I'm
be in love
coffee
with
and
it.
pastry.
We'll come back to that, Sasha.
Mm,
It's getting the distance from them. You don't want to numb them completely. I mean, it's part of you. It's beautiful. I love them. Like I love emotions. I relate to what you say because I'm the same. Like, oh yes, there's coffee. I feel it. And food is actually emotion inducing. It's a comfort thing. Um, so it's getting the distance from them. It's coming back to your body. I know you're saying that your body is not hyper, but actually, I bet that if you would check in what's happening in your body when you're having the emotion, you'll find that your heart rate is different, that you're breathing differently, that your breath gets a little bit more shallow. So you're sending, the moment your breath gets more shallow, you're sending a message to your nervous system that you are in danger. So your whole nervous system gets upregulated and then you react to your emotion differently. So it's coming back. It's what's happening in my shoulder. My arms feel a little tight. I feel some heat. Where is it? Where is this emotion coming from? Trying to locate it in the body and trying to notice the whole reaction. I wouldn't want to completely numb the emotion. They're great. It's getting that
and
distance and observing them.
especially coming from America and New York, that you can talk with anyone in the streets, say good things, not bad things, but happy
Bad
things.
thing.
Here in France, it's a little bit people are more reserved. I mean, it's a beautiful culture, French culture, but very different. Like you can't
Mm-hmm.
just talk with someone in the street or in the cafe. It's not like you
Mm-hmm.
can mingle with people, and it makes me a little bit. That's why I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a hard time here because my emotions are like I have to constantly suppress it, whereas I don't have that freedom of expression. Like in New York, you walk, there's a beautiful woman, you turn around and say, the shoes are beautiful, you are beautiful, your body is not. No one thinks anything of it. Or you're in a restaurant, you can meet someone next to you and have a crazy conversation. Here, no, people are not gonna like it, and it's a little bit. I'm constantly suppressed. I'm learning how to be
Hang on
stoic
now,
again.
Sasha. Not always. Not always. It's not always fake
Yeah, not
and politically
always.
correct. In fact, most of the people
No.
I know are politically incorrect, okay, and completely authentic. So I don't know.
Mm.
I know it seems that way sometimes, but it's not always the case. And Sasha did have a question. He wanted to know, where was that question? There it is. He wanted to know about Eckhart Tolle. Hmm.
Yeah, I do know Eckhart Tolle. I'm not a massive follower, but I do know Eckhart Tolle, and I know he's done some amazing work, definitely, and especially on the present moment awareness. He brought it into the mainstream. So I do think that that is beautiful. I don't follow all of his work religiously, but from on my spiritual path, on the spiritual path on my journey, I definitely dabbed into Eckhart Tolle a little bit.
Nice.
I like the energy of him. He has a
Yeah,
lot of really wonderful things to say, but if you sit and
yeah.
listen to him talk, for me, more than I mean, he says wonderful things, but more than that, it's his energy. I don't know, and just
Mm-hmm.
it's just such a peaceful, like calm, like
Yeah,
tranquil energy that's really attractive to me
yeah,
personally.
yeah.
Anyway, but
And Wayne Dyer,
In,
although
in
he's
now.
passed already, I
yes,
love Wayne Dyer as
yes. Oh
well.
God,
But I
yes.
found his energy just, oh,
Hmm.
I could
Yeah.
listen and read all the time.
A lovely man.
Yeah,
He rest in
yeah.
peace. So, what we are at 1 hour and 11 minutes. So something beautiful must be manifesting. If you like numbers like I do. So I will like to say thank you so much, Marta, for coming to be a guest on Hot Topics Live. This conversation was truly amazing. I hope that people really took away how to recognize their triggers, how to become aware of their emotions and how to communicate effectively and regulate them in order to be healthier in the way they attach in their relationships,
Mm.
and or at least understand how they attach to form healthier relationships and just live a happier life. So I want to
Thank
say
you for
thank you.
having me. Thank you for having me. I had a great time. You girls are awesome.
Ah, thank you. Matilda, is there anything else you want to add before we start to wrap it up?
Well, Martha, I will answer lots of questions. Now I'm going to bring whatever problem I have. But it's very interesting now. I mean, I have to rewatch this again and really be honest with myself and really think what I'm doing or what are my triggers,
Mm.
so I can work on it, not only with Sasha, but for my life, for my. I'm sure if this is triggered here, that means there is other areas that I need to work on it as well, and just understand why I'm doing why I'm feeling certain way, and maybe not tone down my emotions because I really love them, but maybe understand how I can give the space to, in this
Mm.
scenario, to someone like Sasha, so they can feel secure as well. Because I don't want to bother them or anything. I want them, you know, to be happy when I'm emotional too, or to feel all the good things that I'm feeling as well. So yeah, I've learned a lot actually, and
Oh, I love
I
that.
have conversation to do with Sasha. Sasha, I'm coming soon.
I love that insight, Matilda. It's beautiful. Wow. Thank you for
And,
sharing.
and
I
let's,
gotta
let's see what will happen.
I gotta say, I hope that you will come back again, Marta, and share some more of your insight with us. And I just want to make sure everyone knows to go follow you on Instagram at my coach Marta. The website is the same, and I put it up here. So go and check out the website and learn how to book an appointment with her so that you can get some one-on-one help and support on your healing journey and have your best, happiest relationships, because that's what makes the world a better place, right? more
Yeah.
Yeah.
love, more happiness. So, and
And
relationships are a great place to start, right?
that's where most of our healing happens, in relationships. We get wounded through relationships, and we heal mostly in relationships. So it's wow, I love love, and I love
I,
relationships.
I always tell people I'm not looking to get married right away, but I will likely get married again. And people are like, "You're gonna get married again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, because I will just never give up on love. I think I'm a
Hmm.
hopeless romantic. I think it is the number one thing. Self-love, love of your family and the people who matter to you, and
Yeah.
understanding these emotional emotions and having emotional intelligence really makes your life better and because of the way you can interact with others.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
just love everything you post on Instagram. I think everyone should go follow you and see your reels and your stories and everything that you're doing and you're sharing, because they're so beneficial. I mean, I read this post on emotional overthinking and reacting, and I was like, oh my god, that's me to it. Like
Yes.
literally that one post changed my life.
Oh wow.
Very
So
nice,
I
Martha. I'm gonna
appreciate
go
you.
follow you. I don't want
I
to be behind
I
Kia.
sent you her page. But anyway, but anyways, it's been such a pleasure to have you, and I really do hope that you'll come back and visit us again, maybe
I'd
in
love
March,
to.
and
I'd
we
love to,
we
Kia.
can
Yeah,
talk some more about
definitely.
and learn so much more from you. And oh, it looks like we have another comment. So let me see. Aw, Sasha, you're so cute.
Oh, Sasha is opening up.
Yeah.
Oh, he's such a doll. I mean,
He's a very
we
lovely guy.
love those stoic guys. I
Yeah.
love a stoic guy. So, I mean, you see there, that's how it goes. It's just about
Hmm.
understanding when to give space. And I think a lot of women run into that because you get together with a guy, and guys in general need to take space to process their emotions,
Hmm.
whether they're anxious, attached or not. So when a guy takes space, it will send a lot of us females into a frenzy, and sometimes it's the other way
Hmm.
for guys too. But I know because I'm a woman, so I'm speaking from my experience and from the women that I talk to, and it's just better to give them that
Mm.
space.
Yeah.
But you have to, some of the techniques that you taught us will really help work through that trigger when it comes up,
Mm.
when you're like, oh my god, he's being distant, what is going on, like why isn't he talking to me, like all of those thoughts start racing through your mind. Then you can use those techniques like, what am I feeling, where is it in my body, should I stretch? First thing I do is breathe. If that doesn't work,
Yeah.
Start
if
stretching.
that doesn't work, I start stretching. I do, because I feel it here. I feel it in my
Yeah.
shoulders. And so then I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I have to start stretching. If that doesn't work, I smoke weed. That always works to bring me
That always works.
down,
But
to
yeah, the
bring it, because
breath
I
Exactly.
get
helps.
really tense, right? So I have to
Yeah.
like breathe, Kia, because let me tell you, if I react during that, I am really going to act up. Okay. It's not going to be good for anyone. And sometimes your trigger can manifest itself as anger, Matilda. So when you're
Hmm.
feeling angry and
Yeah.
frustrated, maybe check in with what's going on with your body, because maybe you're triggered because you're getting angry. So it could
Yeah.
be some of these techniques could help you and be really amazing.
Yeah.
So
And anger can be suppressed sadness. So it's really good
mhm,
to connect with that as well and find out where it comes from. But yeah,
mhm,
definitely breath. Breath is the most powerful tool we have because we always have it. The only thing we do unconsciously and consciously. It's such a wonderful thing. And I work with breath as well a lot.
love it.
And I'm so aware of my breathing now that sometimes even I am not triggered, or before I even feel my emotion, I notice, oh, my breath got shallow. What is happening? I am going to have a feeling. I even now I connect with my breath before the emotion and the trigger comes up.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. It's
Mm.
amazing.
But yeah, it's
Hmm.
slowing it down straight away. Like if it's going getting shallow, I'm going to breathe deeper and slower, going right back into that awareness because something is coming up if my breath has changed.
Amazing. I mean, I could talk to you for the rest of the day, but I know that it's late for you both in Europe. It's very early for me here, and I'm pretty sure my kids are like, "What's for lunch?" So I'm gonna go and I wrap up the show. But again, Marta, I'm gonna put you in the green room. If you have a moment to stick around, we'll have a proper goodbye after we close the show. If not, I totally understand. But I'm so grateful for your time and your energy, and it's been such a gift to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for
Thank
having me.
you,
I
Martha.
loved it. Thanks, Matilda.
So,
That was
Matilda, what did you
awesome.
think of that?
That was awesome. I've learned some techniques. I think Sasha is very happy too because I'm going to use it on Sasha. These positive techniques I've learned about how to control my emotions, to
Mhm.
express it and give him space. So I think Sasha is happy, and I'm happy if it works.
It works if you work it. So
Yeah, I'm gonna
like
try to
like
work it
you
because it's important.
I do think so too. I do think so too. And I hope it helps a lot of people because, they don't teach emotional intelligence in school as they well should, you know. And
Mm.
most of us have been going through life just sort of experiencing these things and not understanding what we're feeling and what's happening to us. So hopefully, this message was meant for someone. It reaches the right people, the right eyes and ears, and they can take away, something that helps them heal and live a happier, healthier life and have better relationships. So I loved this episode. I couldn't wait for it. I've been planning this for 2 months. So
Yes, because
I'm
they
really
say
excited.
your quality of your life is the quality of your relationships.
That's true. Yep. Because
So,
you have relationships at work and at home. And if either one of those are askew, then you're going to be very stressed out and miserable. And who wants to live a life of misery? I know I don't.
exactly.
So,
And I think your children bring a lot of no, trigger a lot of
mm.
emotions in you as well.
Oh, God. I have a teenager. Like, do not even get me started on how my teenage son triggers the crap out of me often. And I have to emotionally regulate myself and be like, why am I yelling? I don't even like yelling. Like, I need to like, I need to tone it down. Like, he's got a smart mouth. He gets it from me. By the So yeah, but your kids can do it. Like, just being able to regulate your emotions is essential, and understanding and being self-aware and aware of yourself is essential. So I'm really, really glad that we had a chance to have Marta come on and share, and that she offers coaching services to people who really, really, really want to improve their life quickly and change and learn these skills. So is promoting that kind of beautiful work. And like she speak a lot of her, and
Yes.
it's the same for me. I always say, get a coach. There's a coach for everything. Anything you want to learn, there's a coach out there teaching it. Go get a coach and work with someone, and you'll really get rapid results and a lot of support in whatever it is you're trying to do. So thank you, Sasha. You're such a doll. And now, armed with tools to have even a happier and healthier marriage, I'm even more excited for you two.
Yes.
So
They were very lovely.
so
Lovely
thanks for
show
joining
today.
me today, Matilda. I love when you're
Thank
with
you
me.
for having me, Kiara, darling Kiara.
My darling. Next week it's gonna be a little bit different. So I'm gonna come later. So I will see you in not next week, but the week after, hopefully, if you're still available. And next week we're gonna do a show about anti-aging and functional medicine. And my good old friend Gloria will be back up in the house. and we will be on at a later time. We're going to come on our old time on Thursdays, Thursday evening at 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern time. So our friend Lynn is going to be back, Lynn Billette, and she's going to teach us about functional medicine and how to age backwards. So if you want to take care of yourself and be youthful from the inside out and the outside in, tune in to that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook. And tune in next week live if you want to join the conversation. Remember that you're a beautiful soul. You deserve the happiest, best life possible. I love you. You are lovable. You are enough. And we'll see you next time. Right, Matilda?
Yes, see you next time.